A clean machine makes a happy machine. So we're here today to tell you how to clean your Handy Quilter long arm. So before we start this video of all the do's and don'ts, we're going to remove these poles just to give you a better view with the camera so that we can really get in here and show you exactly what we're doing. So we're just going to pull our poles off and set them down on the floor. This does not have to be done when you're cleaning your machine. You're you should be able to get around your poles and do all of the things you need to do. But what we want to talk about first is the fact that cleaning your machine is going to make your machine run so much better. The wheels there's so much lint in quilting. The lint gets built up on your wheels. So especially if you're free motion quilting, you want to make sure that you're cleaning your machine every time after you get through quilting or before you start quilting. So customers ask me all the time, when is the best time to do that? When should I clean my machine? Well, here in the shop, we quilt all day long, every day, 5 days a week. And so what we do is we like to start our day off with a clean machine. So if we finish a quilt the night before, then we clean the machine and get it prepped and ready to go for the next day. If we still have a quilt on when we leave, then the next morning we finish that quilt and then we clean that machine. So we do it every day here. It is just dependent upon how often you quilt. So if you let your machine sit for weeks at a time in between quilting quilts, then I suggest you do this process right before you get started with your new quilt, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of run from the top to the bottom. So before we get ready to start cleaning, the first thing we're going to do is remove our thread. So I am just going to gently remove my thread. I don't like to pull it out of the tension disc without taking that thread out of the tension disc. So I'm just going to get my thread out of the way so it is not getting tangled up in anything that I'm doing. And we're going to start by simply thinking about how you have dust from the top to the bottom. So it's just kind of like cleaning anything. You don't start at your baseboards and then start cleaning the top of your wall. You want to start at the top and work your way down when you're cleaning a room or when you're cleaning anything else. So the same thing applies to your long arm. So we have a few things here that we are going to use to clean. Sorry, dropping things. We have we have some scrap batting. We all have scrap batting if we're a quilter, right? We have a machine cleaning brush, and then we have this cool little kind of like a makeup eyelash brush. We have these here in the shop. They come 10 to a pack for like $3 or $4, but they're great in getting in little crevices that you can't get to. We also like to use a little handheld vacuum. Some people like to use canned air. The reason we don't use canned air is because, number one, canned air will introduce moisture into your machine. I don't like that, even though there is a block down here that's supposed to block off to where you can't push lint back into your machine. It still has the possibility of introducing moisture into your machine. So I don't like to use canned air for that number one reason. Number two reason is because think about it. When you blow canned air into that little bitty confined space, what happens? It just blows that fuzz out everywhere else. So you're taking one mess and putting it down on your floor, in your face, wherever. So that's why we don't use canned air. We love these little handheld rechargeable vacuums. We use those all over the place. We can use it on the floor. We can use it to clean our machine off. So we're going to quickly start up at the top, and we just use our scrap batting to dust off our machine all the way down, especially when you get right in this area. You want to, spend a little time to get all that fuzz off. I'm going to take out my bobbin case because that thread is going to be in my way. And I'm going to remove my needle, because the other thing you should be doing is changing your needle in between quilting quilts. So every quilt might need a new needle. So if you're quilting a little baby quilt, you might be able to get a couple of 2 or 3 little baby quilts out of one needle. But if you've just quilted a large quilt, you do want to change that needle. I'm just going to use that with that needle out of the way. I can clean off the whole bed of my machine, and then I'm going to work my way down to my wheels. Now, to clean your wheels, you have on a Handy Quilter, we're working on a Forte, which is also now known, the new name is Amara 24. And this machine has 4 wheels on the machine, and then the carriage has 8 wheels. So you want to make sure you're getting all of those wheels cleaned. So what I do is I take my batting, and I just hold it with my fingers inside that wheel, and I just run my machine back and forth a couple of times. That will clean out the groove of that wheel. See, I got a little bit of, Marley's directing me so you guys can see it. We got a little bit of dirt out of that wheel. Now, we clean ours every day, so you're not going to see huge, dirty stuff coming off this machine. I don't think so, anyway. So you're cleaning each wheel. The other thing you want to do is you want to clean this track. Just take your little batting and run it over the whole length of the track on the carriage on both sides. I can't reach that one without going around, but you would do it on both sides. The next thing you want to do is concentrate on these wheels that are underneath the carriage. Now, I just place I want y'all to be able to see this. Marley, can you see right there? Okay, I'm just going to run this. Either spin it with your finger or roll the carriage. That one's not wanting to roll. Let me try this one. Just roll back and forth and look at that gunk that came off of that wheel. So you're going to do that on all 8 wheels. You have one in the front and one in the back on each point that makes contact with your track. The next thing you want to do is you want to clean your tracks. Now, the tracks get lint built up on them. And if you are a free motion quilter, you're going to notice every now and then, sometimes you get a little thump when you're quilting. That's a piece of lint. And clean your wheels. That's the first thing we ask people when they call and they say, why am I getting this level motion and it's just in one spot on my frame? Well, the first thing we do is tell them, clean your tracks, clean your wheels, make sure everything's good and clean. Now, sometimes it's a little ornery and it doesn't like to come off with just a dry piece of batting. Get some rubbing alcohol and maybe a Q-tip, and you can use that to clean those tracks and wheels. Don't introduce any sort of cleaner to your frame or your machine. So that cleans off every area of our machine. We're going to keep it just wipe down everything you can reach with that batting. Our next area that we're going to talk about is in our bobbin case. Now, again, like I said, we like to use the vacuum, so I'm going to let Marley kind of zoom in for us, and we're going to talk about cleaning that bobbin case area and oiling. So this vacuum is going to be loud, so I'm going to do it really quickly. So I have vacuumed out my bobbin case area, and there may still be a little bit of fuzz. You can go back with your batting. You can clean in there with the batting. I do want you to be very careful. There is a plug in here that plugs in your light in this area. The reason why Handy Quilter recommends you to not use a brush in this area is because that light is very easy to unplug and it's very hard to plug back in. So be careful with that. With that being said, if you have, some space inside your bobbin case, you need to use that brush. Get in there with that brush. This little guy here is nice to use if you have still places up here you can't reach, scrubbing around those needle bars. Also, if you have an area in here, I see some hot pink fuzz coming out, you can get in there with that little brush as well. Now, oiling is done every time you clean your machine for sure, and then every other bobbin change. So when I say every other bobbin change, you're quilting on a large king size quilt, you may have to oil your machine multiple times. Every time you oil your machine, I highly suggest that you have a piece of scrap off to the side and you stitch out off to the side of your quilt to make sure any excess oil gets stitched out on that scrap instead of in the middle of your quilt. So what I like to do is put my needle down, which I don't have a needle in right now, and then I am going to put a drop of oil right here.
There we go.
My oil bottle's getting empty. It didn't want to come out. And then I'm just going to needle up and down multiple times. That distributes that oil around, and we're able to get a good amount in our bobbin case area. So that is what you need to do to clean your machine and keep it happy. Again, highly suggest a happy, clean machine is a happy machine and makes a happy quilter. So it makes your job a lot easier if you just do that little bit of extra work. So I hope this tip helped, and we'll see you guys later for another video.